Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Afro Therapy. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the notification button so you know next time I post a video. This channel is going to be about essentially me going out into the community and reaching out to people doing awesome, really cool, interesting things with their lives to combat some of the negativity that's going on the internet. God, I'm sick of Trump, sick of that news, sick of everything, and I want to contribute something positive to your news feed. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friend Madison, who has graciously offered to be my very first video. Take it away, Maddie.
My name is Madison, and I graduated from NDSU this past December, so 2017, with a major in English education with an emphasis in communication.
Tell me about the kind of your thought process around your body positivity movement, your blog. Kind of explain what you did, what kind of started it, and go on from there.
Yeah, I would say what started it is listening to conversations, particularly of some of my girlfriends, and we're just so hard on ourselves, and we spend so much time, and I'm so guilty of this as well, just scrolling, particularly I think on Instagram, because you just get to see literal snapshots of people's lives. And I think everybody's aware to some degree that it is a enhanced version of what our life really is, but to remind yourself that when you're scrolling through, it's really difficult, and you follow beautiful women and these people who are doing really exciting things with their lives, and we all hide things behind the screen that we don't necessarily want to share because that would show a sign of weakness. In reality, a lot of the things that we're hiding are part of who we are, and it shouldn't be a weakness. And so for me personally, I noticed that I never showed any of my scars on Instagram. And if I could edit out any pimples or, anything it could be, I would prefer that, because I wanted people to think that I was this shiny, perfect version so I could compete. And it gets draining, and it's kind of silly. And when you think about how short we are here in this lifespan, it's just kind of like we're here for an instant. So why would we be ashamed of, the bodies that we've been given? And so kind of similar to your project, I just wanted to be a voice and hopefully jumpstart more people to come forward and just be brave and show a side of them that actually a lot of people probably find unique and, something that's beautiful to you. Because if we all look the same, it'd be a really boring life. And it was really cool to hear people's physical scars, but emotional scars too. They don't always share on social media. And I think it's an important conversation. And obviously there's a line between not wanting to overshare and, social media doesn't have to be your counselor. But I think it's good to break that wall that, look, I'm imperfect and it's okay. And then other girls and people in general can say, oh, wow, she has that imperfection too. I feel less alone now. And I think anytime you can make someone feel less alone, especially with social media, I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely. So go ahead and tell me some of the things that you've done.
I teamed up with a photographer in Fargo, Lydia, who is behind the scenes for Two Pines Photography. And she agreed 100% to do this project where anyone that was willing to volunteer to come forward about a behind the screen moment they hadn't shared on social media before, she would shoot them for free and edit. But edit in a way where she didn't hide any imperfections, obviously lighting and, basics like that. But she agreed, I don't want to Photoshop any of this. And so it was cool that we both were in on this, and the people involved shared stories from depression to, physical scars. And so that was really cool for them to share their own story of how it came to be and why they've never shared it before and why they're choosing to share it now. Another thing that I did was I did write for the Odyssey online, and I did write a lot of personal, it was kind of literally my online journal, and it was terrifying when I wrote my first post. I wrote about everything from going through an eating disorder, through my scars, through struggling with finding the right friend group in college and not giving into peer pressure to always drink, to go out and have fun. And I've also written about, the culture with sexism and men catcalling you and, feeling guilty when you don't respond, and just everything that kind of goes on my head that I get frustrated with. I kind of just let it out on this blog. And it wasn't a perfect blog by any means. I probably had a lot of grammar, fixes that I probably need to look over, but it was just nice to vent. And then what really kept me going was how many people responded with "Me too," and "Thank you for sharing that." And I realized that it became more of not just me venting, but other people getting to relate. And I think that's really important, is when we are brave enough to have a voice for other people who may not be ready. So
that's beautiful. What was your takeaway? What was the biggest thing that you enjoyed or learned from kind of exposing yourself to the world like this?
That I don't know, it's like we have this irrational fear that when we get vulnerable and let those walls down, that it's going to be the worst thing ever. It's really scary. And I learned that it's actually very liberating. And it wasn't that scary at all. I mean, after I wrote my first blog, it just kind of became, oh, okay, the worst thing that happened in my head didn't happen. People liked it. And it was very validating. And I learned more about myself too. Sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm feeling unless I write it down or I verbally say it. And I've just become more confident in my conversations with people too, in person, I think. Getting to voice what I'm thinking in my head and some issues that I've dealt with in my life kind of gave me some closure as well. And I think it really solidified who I am becoming constantly every day as a young adult, and going into the professional world now. If I know how to better verbalize things that I've gone through, I think I'll be able to communicate better with my future students, or just anybody that I come across in life. So.
Awesome. Let's go to a lot of the humanitarian work you did. So the first thing, just kind of tell me about how you got involved, how you managed to, travel to Africa and work with all these African kids who needed your help. So kind of start at the beginning, if you can remember as much as you can, and kind of build from there.
Yeah, I guess I've just always really wanted to travel. I think what jump-started it was our family went to Jamaica for Christmas one year. And it was my first time being out of the country and seeing poverty in real life. And it made me sick because my family was on this resort the whole time. And I remember we got picked up from this tour bus from the airport and we went straight to our resort. And I was really disgusted with myself and my family almost for doing this. And I thought, why are we going to go lay on the beach all day? It just seemed really broken and messed up. And I knew it was there from commercials and, other people who do it. But it was a really hard Christmas, and it was a wake-up call. And that's all I could think about was what was outside the fences of our resort. And it was just either poverty or a resort. And I'm like, we are part of this problem here. And so that kind of woke something up in me. And then one summer, I just decided I was going to do it. And I knew a couple girls in the area that had gone to Ethiopia, and I asked them more about it and how they went and what program and what they did there. And both the girls I talked to had great things to say, and they said it was a wonderful experience. And I said, okay. And so I got in contact with the leader of the group, and I started getting donations and a GoFundMe page, and it all just kind of came together. I worked waitressing at Longhorn and managed to get enough tip money to go, and brought a couple of suitcases of just donations to bring in from other people. Honestly, I wouldn't have been able to go if it wasn't for the people around me supporting me. And My dad brought up a good point, why spend all this money on traveling there when you could just give the money to them? And that is a good point, but that trip changed me. I would have liked to have done more. Maybe there's always more you can do, but getting just to experience their culture and be so welcomed. And I had such stereotypes I barely knew anything about Africa. I thought for the most part, all the countries are pretty similar. I thought the people might look pretty similar, and we got on the plane and I'm like, wow, Ethiopians look very distinct and their language is very unique and everything about their culture is just so unique. And it was so much fun. And I was on cloud nine the whole trip. I just really enjoyed everything we did, to getting to go hiking, to going to some of the orphanages, to seeing some of the schools, to just hanging out in the guest house with some of the locals and going out to restaurants. And that trip even changed my life back home in Fargo, because it jump-started me to start going to the Pink House every Friday, which it's for students who are, new to NDSU or anywhere in the FM area that are new Americans and they maybe feel a little bit homesick. Every Friday they have a meal. And I met another guy from Ethiopia and we bonded over that. And his name was Abraham. And we got to talk about the city and what I've seen. And I shared some words that I learned in Amharic. And it was so much fun to get to connect with him. And then that developed a friendship where I met other people from these other countries. And then I was able to relate with, some of my students. They wanted to hear about my trip. They were so excited that I went. And it was great. It really kind of kickstarted this, okay, I got to see more. There's more out there. And I think traveling really is the best way to learn about yourself and other people. And there's just nothing like it.
If you have like a single piece of advice for people as a whole, what would you tell them?
A single piece of advice. I feel like everything that's coming to my mind is just really cliche. There is this quote that I really enjoyed. I found it when I was reading the other day, and it's actually from George Bernard Shaw. Reasonable people adapt themselves to the world. Unreasonable people attempt to adapt the world to themselves. All progress, therefore, depends on unreasonable people. So I guess my advice would be to be unreasonable and to never fall into the flow for too long. And don't be afraid, because the worst thing that can happen is you make a mistake, and mistakes are also how progress is made. So,
boom! Be unreasonable. Being unreasonable creates progress. Thank you so much, Maddie, for those profound words. If you or anybody you know are contributing to the community in any positive way, please reach out to me on my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, whatever you have. And let's keep telling stories. Until next time, this is Afro Therapy.